Hello, my name is Callie Brooks. I'm the president and CEO of Adirondack Foundation.
Hi, and I'm Rich Cruz. I'm the chair of the Adirondack Foundation. Thank you for joining us virtually today. We're all adjusting to the new reality. Normally we'd be in the beautiful field to our left here in the Adirondacks celebrating together, but we still wanted to celebrate, so we're here to give a toast to the Adirondacks.
Cheers. Cheers.
In recognition of all the great things that have been happening this summer, despite the horrible situations that we've been in.
This is a toast to you. We're so grateful you're here with us today. Thank you so much for all you do for our communities.
So we're going to start out by showing a video called We Rise. That really exemplifies sort of the strength and the resilience in the community in the Adirondacks. Let's take a look.
This place.
These mountains.
These lakes.
These towns.
They mean something different to each of us.
An escape.
A place of solitude.
A community.
A home.
So raise your hand.
We help our neighbors.
We believe in the potential of every child.
We treasure our communities.
We are driven to succeed.
And like the landscape from which we've carved our lives,
We are tough.
We are unique.
And inspired.
And like the terrain, we are resilient.
Like the rivers and lakes, we come together.
To live, grow, and thrive.
And like the mountains, we rise.
we are here to help everyone thrive in this place we love, to provide opportunities and support. The best way to love the Adirondacks is to give back.
Great. We're so glad you're back, and boy, that was a really great video, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love that video. It's so inspiring, and it's kind of interesting. We started working on that video early this year in like January, February, and we literally finished it right about the time that COVID broke out, and it was so fitting that it was available just to kind of lift people's spirits and remind us of the strength that we have in our community.
Yeah, and I just want to repeat that statement that I think is so poignant. The best way to love the Adirondacks is to give back. So thank you so much. Again, we're so grateful for that you're here with us today. We're going to transition into the next phase of this work. And again, my name is Callie Brooks. I'm the CEO, president and CEO of Adirondack Foundation.
And this is Rich Cruz. I'm the chair of the foundation.
And I just want to say that your philanthropy has allowed Adirondack Foundation to accomplish so much this year. You stepped up when your Adirondack neighbors needed you. This event is a thank you for the incredible impact your generosity has had on our community. We share all of this with you, and our deep thanks to you, our partners, nonprofits, and community organizers who have made a huge difference this year. Since 1997, we have been building charitable assets and strengthening Adirondack communities. This slide helps to illustrate our role in the growth of our work over the years. Our capacity to make grants is a direct result of the dramatic growth in philanthropic investment by you, our community, over time. Back in 1997, when we were founded, we had less than $1 million in assets. Today, that's $67 million in assets, and in that time, we've distributed over $42 million in grants and scholarships back into the community. The steps in this slide show our aspirations to lead our community toward a better and brighter future. The COVID-19 pandemic required us to step into a position of leadership to support vulnerable families. Rich is going to now share with you some great examples of that impact.
Yeah, these numbers are just so incredible. The impact is incredible. But we thought we'd bring it to life by a story of the Salvation Army in Plattsburgh. We had been supporting them already for a number of years, and we actually helped them replace some refrigerators not too long before, so they were in good shape heading into this. But then we gave them an additional grant to help them deliver packages to over 9,000 packages to 2,000 households. And what's kind of struck me is of those 2,000 households, there were actually 400 first-time folks that hadn't used the services of the Salvation Army before. So it was pretty clear that, we kind of knew that there are some fragile situations, and the Salvation Army was ready to really step in. And it's also a great example of the organizations like that we like to support, really looking holistically at the needs of those that need to be helped. And they also were able to help with things like rent assistance and other critical assistance during this really trying time when sort of the world went on pause. Another really interesting sort of phenomenon that was apparent is sort of the systemic nature of what was going on in our communities. When we talked about food security, we actually worked with some farmers to think about how can we get the food from the farmers over to the people that really needed the food, that were really short on the food. So on this slide here, we see two farmers in Keysville from the North Country Creamery. And they actually were sort of part of the many farmers that were involved with bringing food to the table. And these folks also were losing their sources of income because schools were no longer buying food. The restaurants were no longer buying their local food as much. So this was a great opportunity for them to make good use of their food. And then the Hub on the Hill was actually the one that would help sort of package up all this food from the local farmers. They have staff that they hired there, so that was also an opportunity to employ some people there. We also had volunteers. The ADK Action Group in Saranac Lake was very instrumental in getting volunteers and then delivering this food to areas like Paul Smith's and Saranac Lake and Tupper Lake. So at the end of the day, they were able to get really nutritious food to the folks that needed it most, and were able to sort of engage and employ a lot of people in the food systems. I love this little kid here. His name is Jacob. He was one of our little neighbors receiving one of these packages, and he was always very excited to receive the packages. He's just 3 years old. And here he's actually opening up the box, and the first thing he picks out is some yogurt from North Country Creamery that we just saw. He also would be really excited about the spinach in the packages as well. I guess his mom said he calls it the green leaves. So he was very excited about that, and he loved the granola. He called that the cereal. So clearly he's going to grow up to be a nice, strong, healthy boy. So yeah, it's just a great example of a good sort of system approach to really making this, solving the problem, but also employing people and supporting people along the way.
Those are really powerful stories. Thanks for sharing them. Your generosity has made this past year one for the records for Adirondack Foundation. Donors across the region helped us to raise $9 million in new gifts, and we granted out a record-breaking $5.4 million in grants and scholarships. This is why we are here toasting you, our Adirondack neighbors, today. Cheers to you, our supporters, our nonprofit partners, and our cheerleaders. Let's take a closer look at where that $5 million in grants went. This slide shows the powerful impact of our family of funds, including donor-advised, unrestricted, and other funds, which include scholarships and our supporting organization partners, the Lake Placid Education Foundation and the Crary Foundation. Where did our grant making go? As a community foundation, we are passionate about the whole community. So that means we are focused on supporting basic needs, investing in college and career readiness, protecting the environment, and much more. One of the reasons this year was so transformative was the willingness of people to come together, to partner for increased leverage and rapid response to end the pandemic. In addition to the hundreds of individual donors who helped us mobilize COVID relief efforts, we'd like to thank these critical funding partners. You helped us reach new heights through massive effort to meet community needs and increase grants.
Yeah, just seeing those numbers, $9 million in donations, over $5 million in grants, that's 3 times the amount that it was 10 years ago when I joined the Adirondack Foundation board. So just incredible numbers. But again, let's sort of look at another example of how this is brought to life. This is Robin Giles' daycare center in Beekmantown near Plattsburgh. She has a daycare center. She employs an employee there as part of her daycare center. When sort of the state hit pause, suddenly there were sort of this schism between some essential workers still needed the daycare desperately, but a lot of people were not working, they were at home, so they weren't sending the kids to the daycare, so she was in a precarious situation. And again, with a grant, in this case from the Small Grants for Small Children Fund, we were able to help her bridge that gap, have some continuity, keep that one person hired on, and now things are slowly coming back to normal, but little grants like that make a really big difference.
They do. Another story of generosity that we love to share is legacy giving. Sometimes leaving a bequest in a will can seem so abstract to many of us, but year after year, the Dameth Fund, which was established by Robert Dameth upon his death in 2012, makes a very tangible grants to support nonprofits in the communities of Cranberry Lake and Star Lake. Here you see these funds supporting the Clifton Fine Hospital, which offers primary care, emergency services, as well as acute care and assisted living in a very rurally populated, sparsely populated area of our region.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's beyond the grant making, what was really critical in the last few months was convening people. So the work that we do with the Adirondack Nonprofit Network of bringing people together really took on a new level of importance. Granted, it was with Zoom, so it wasn't quite the old-fashioned way, but bringing people together multiple times a month, having people be able to share, first of all, their experiences, being able to see the smiling faces on Zoom as we see here, and sharing best practices, you know, and having some guidance as to how you do your fundraising, or how do you respond in a crisis. How do we get sort of back online? How do we come back to business? How do we get these nonprofits operating again? Because the nonprofits are a very critical part of the economic sector in the Adirondacks as well. So that was very critical. And these kinds of collaborations, these kind of convenings lead to a lot of the work that we do, whether it's the Birth to Three Alliance or working with the funders for the Adirondacks. It's very powerful. The funders for the Adirondacks are very critical in stepping in the Sun Fund. Really bringing a lot of resources, a lot of credibility, and inspiring others to really follow their lead. So the collaborative work also was very critical in that phase.
And now we're really pleased to share with you our newest video. This is Voices of Impact. We're calling it Coming Together, so we're really proud to show you for the first time ever our Coming Together video. We at Adirondack Foundation have been so overwhelmed by the generous support from throughout the region during these difficult times. But instead of me telling you about the impact of your generosity, we've asked grantees and partners to speak for themselves.
Due to the generous support of the Adirondack Foundation, we've been able to deliver tens of thousands of meals to local families in need. We've also been able to put over $100,000 in the pockets of local farmers.
Our alliance and partnership with Adirondack Foundation has really accelerated a lot of the work that we've been able to do in health centers and communities across the region.
These were definitely unprecedented times for our school families. We were able to personalize the ways that we were able to help them through this challenging and tough experience.
We need to do everything we can to give our kids in our region the best possible start in life. And our collaboration between the Birth to Three Alliance and the Adirondack Foundation helps us do that.
I'd like to convey a sincere thank you to the Adirondack Foundation.
Thank you, Adirondack Foundation, for bringing our community together.
Thank you to your many donors, and thank you to everyone who has contributed, and to all of the Adirondack Foundation's grants for making it an organization that helps to make the Adirondacks a place where people take care of each other, especially when we need it the most.
Wasn't that awesome? I love seeing the passion and the people there. I love seeing those that are providing the services. I love seeing, or just thinking about those that are funding these services, giving the opportunities for these positive outcomes to happen. So again, thank you for making this all possible.
And we'd like to share just a few words from some of our other grantees. So we're going to read some notes that we've received recently. So from Dan Bauer of the Tupper Lake Central School District, he writes to us, "Thank you so much for supporting our efforts to keep children fed during the COVID crisis. We're grateful for the support of Adirondack Foundation provides for the community of Tupper Lake."
And from Nick Rama at Silver Bay YMCA, he said, "This gracious gift from the Adirondack Foundation and Hudson Headwaters Health is truly a blessing for our teen center during these uncertain times. We are deeply honored that you, once again, share your resources with us to assist the North Country."
From Lynn Sickles at the Small Tales Child Care Center in Warrensburg, we just want to say thank you from the bottom of all of the children and teachers' hearts at Small Tales. Thank you. Your funding is allowing us to provide care for children from 8 weeks old to 12 years old during this extremely challenging time.
And from Lori Barcombe of Moores, New York Family Daycare, the grant money we received was a tremendous help in so many ways. It not only helped to keep bills paid so we could maintain our daycare home, but it also relieved a great amount of stress and worry.
From Donna Walton of the Ticonderoga Revitalization Alliance, she writes, "We're so thrilled to receive this support from Adirondack Foundation and are surprised that you were able to carve out this donation for us in these times. It makes it all the more appreciated."
And from Sawyer Cresap of the Hamilton Helps Project based at Blue Mountain Center, we are so appreciative of everything you and the Adirondack Foundation have done to support our Hamilton County focused projects during this time, including our current Hamilton Healthy Food Connections work.
Those are just a few of the voices of thanks we've heard from across the region, all because of the support that you give to Adirondack Foundation. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So Callie, it's been a big year.
It has.
No pressure.
Woo!
So what's next for the Adirondack Foundation?
Yeah, so we're aware that the COVID-19 crisis is far from over by any means. And in fact, we're quite worried about what might happen this fall. So we're taking stock of the lessons learned from our grant making and continuing to talk to our partners across the region. We look for continued support from people in the community who are able to give back, especially as we face a deep decline in state and federal funding.
Yeah, no, that's going to be important to follow. I think what was obvious from the pandemic is that it exposed a lot of weaknesses that may have actually been there before, but really there were some holes in the safety net, if you like. Where do you see us focusing our efforts to sort of think about addressing those things long term and really building back better?
So as we continue to support the community with grants in response to the COVID crisis, we'll continue to work closely with our partners in the nonprofit sector, in the education sector, because they're really the ones on the front lines of this pandemic. But we've begun to transition and addressing some of the longer term systemic challenges in the region. And we've mentioned them a lot throughout the day, but I just want to take a moment to really talk about them. You mentioned earlier the local food system. We want to really make sure it's accessible to everyone. We're working deeply with the school districts around here to be sure that every student has the resources they need to thrive in a virtual world. And we're always very passionate about meeting the growing childcare needs. We're really living in a childcare desert up here, so all the work that individual childcare providers and childcare centers are doing is more important now than ever, both in preschool and post-school as well.
Yeah, I really think as you talk about these things, it's really about building resilience, right? So whether it's COVID or the next thing, whatever that may be, building more resilience in our systems. And I have to say, especially the schools, what an incredible infrastructure and what they've done for our kids and their families during this time. So it's really incredible. You know, as if times weren't difficult enough, we're also dealing with this national and local issue of racism and inequality. And in fact, we had our board meeting this morning and we talked about that as well. What do you see our role and what can we do in that regard as well?
Well, building on what we talked about today and what we've been doing for many years, we support the Adirondack Diversity Initiative, and we're so glad that Nikki Hilton Patterson is here leading the charge. Adirondack staff and board are committed to looking at how we can ensure that our grant making and our practices are as equitable as possible, and we're evaluating how we can best meet the needs of those facing socioeconomic challenges, particularly in the coming months.
So clearly there's a lot of work to be done still, but the foundation is here. Many great organizations in the Adirondack Park are ready to keep working hard, rolling up their sleeves. We thank you so much for your generosity to support these organizations and help them. Again, we're not done, so just remind us, Callie, what ways people can be engaged.
So you can make a gift to Adirondack Foundation, you can set up a fund, or you can leave a legacy, or you can do all three. We stand ready to serve you.
Awesome. And it's really just incredibly rewarding to work with so many generous people that are making such a big difference in really supporting the place that they really love. So again, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to live here and to give back here.
I'd also like to just add, I'd like to personally thank Callie for her leadership and the entire team. There's people behind us here, behind the scenes as always, and they do this every day, not just on a Friday afternoon. So cheers to them. And Callie, it's been amazing, so
yes.
Thank you. And
we're
not done yet.
We're not done yet. Well, I'm not done yet, but we're not done yet. We have a winner to announce. Drum roll, please. The winner of our a chance to direct a $1,000 grant from the Generous Acts Fund to a charity of their choice is, thank you, Andrea. Let's see, Colin McCullough, you are the winner.
Awesome.
Yay!
Awesome.
I think Colin lives I know Colin lives in Plattsburgh, so that's wonderful.
Awesome. Super. All right, well, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we'll do one final toast. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers to you all. Thank you all.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
And we're just going to go over here and finish our drinks.
Yes.
Cheers. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.